Okay. So, how was the writing process for you? Was this the first time you ever like wrote in terms of like something that was going to be published, or have you written before?
Yeah, this is the first time that I wrote something that was going to be published. It was exciting. It was daunting. I've written, chapters of my own story, but who knows if that'll ever be published. But this was a lot different because there was something coming from it, right? Which was really exciting, but of course a little scary at the same time. Um, but I did find, thank goodness for our meetings, every 2 weeks because I heard people talking about using the dictaphone, right, to speech to text kind of idea. And I found that to be really just life-changing for writing. Because you could just get so much out really quickly. And of course, my keyboard is busted, so it's so much easier to do that, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it was very, very new and exciting and just wonderful to be part of a team.
Oh, that's wonderful. Speech to text is one of my favorite things to do because I tend to type a lot slower than I can speak. And I
Mhm.
feel like my thoughts can catch up or keep up when I'm speaking rather than when I'm typing. And then when I'm typing, I get into this mode where it's like, oh, is this the correct word? And should I change this? And let me make it perfect
Oh.
while I'm doing it. So when you speaking, you don't care if you sound perfect because you know you'll edit it later. But when I'm writing, for some reason, I have this weird pressure I put on myself, like, oh, I should do it perfectly the first time.
Yeah, you edit before you even
Yeah,
get it
which
on
is so
paper.
silly. I don't, it's not very productive. I don't recommend it at all, especially for first-time writers. So
Yeah.
the speech to text, it's wonderful. I love it. And you won't even notice how quickly the word count like is filled up when you're speaking,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
versus when you're typing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, the word count, I mean, I did it I was sort of haphazardly doing it over weeks and then suddenly I was like, okay, I'm gonna use this dictaphone thing or speech to text and I used a whole afternoon and it was done. And it was like, what happened there? That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. It's pretty cool. So how did you feel when you were done with your chapter? Were you like, this was easier than I thought it was gonna be? I'm so glad I did this. Or was it like, wow, this was super hard, never gonna do this again?
No, it was a lot easier. I wish I had done the speech to text thing earlier on. It was so much easier than I thought. Going through, like, it was really nice having the outlines, the sections, and just looking at the sections and answering the questions that came up. There was a few times where I would have to go back, obviously, and re-speak or just fix up things afterwards after I put it through. Um, but yeah, it was a lot easier than I had imagined. Because when I looked at the outline, the template outline, I thought, oh my gosh, there's a lot here. But it also made me really think about things that I hadn't thought about before, right? Um, so, questions that were asked, I thought, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't even really put much thought into that just because it's day-to-day stuff. You don't really, you know, think about it too deep.
Yeah, I get that. And did you have like a lot of us, and I had a few conversations earlier this week and last week as well. Some of the authors and myself, we had a personal growth experience through participating in the book or even in the writing process. Some kind of like, either something new came online for you, or there were new kind of revelations or experiences that were completely different, or just something expansive happened to you on a personal level. Did you experience anything like that?
I did in a little way. As I was writing, I I started to, well, no, actually, I'll say it from the end. From the end of the writing, I looked back and thought, I can do this, right? I really struggled with thinking, who am I to write? I don't know how to write, right? And so for me, it was a process thing. It was a recognition that it's not that hard, and there are people that are going to help you along the way. Having the editor was just fantastic and really just made me feel totally supported. And then having you, looking over everything, just completely a supportive process. And so it really opened my eyes to the idea that I could do my own stuff, right? Like I could write, and just know that there's people out there that will help when the time comes, right? Which was really enlightening because we get ahead of ourselves. Well, how am I going to do that? Or how am I going to do this? And then you don't even write because you don't know how to do what's next. So
Yeah,
that's what sort of came to me. Yeah.
100%. And also it's more than just like the technical stuff, like the writing and the planning and the outlining and editing, and like all of that stuff is kind of like it has to get done no matter what book you're writing. It's the process.
Yeah.
But then if you think about what the topic is as well, it's such a big topic. There's so much to say about it. And you think of like
Oh, yeah.
the controversialness of it, or, how am I going to say this? Or, I want to say things in a way that's not going to be misunderstood, or people are not going to
Yes.
kind of misinterpret what I'm trying to say. And then there's the pressure of the topic as well as, so it seems so big and so huge and overwhelming. So I'm glad that you felt supported and that you feel that you can do personal writing now, because that's kind of the goal at the end of the day. If you are genuinely, part of your purpose is to write, then this is kind of like stepping stones, baby
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I found that it was interesting thinking back, and I've got a little story I'll share. Something happened yesterday that was so interesting and just, yeah, just fascinating to think how far I've come in just a few years, really. Um, but while I was writing, just this constant thinking back, oh, when did that happen? And have I really been, in some form of contact or interested? How has this stuff been coming through? Channeling, um, all of that stuff, and thinking about how fast things have happened for me. So, quick story. Back in 2018, which was what, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, so not terribly long ago, but long enough. Um, I went to see a psychic about a sleeping disorder that had, I just out of the blue had. And what was I doing? Yesterday, I was looking for old material of mine, meditations and stuff on my computer drive. And I've cleaned off my computer so many times. My computer's like super old. Uh, and so you would never imagine that this would still be on my computer. But I found from 2018 the audio from that session, that psychic session. And he is telling me that I am connected to Pleiadians and Arcturians, and this is part of, like, that's who I am on the other side or something, and this is my mission on Earth and yada yada. And I am there in the background. I have a totally different voice at that time in life. Like, I've got this like a little mousy voice, and um I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, that's scary. That's scary. I'm scared, right? And I just was listening to that, just laughing, really, because it all started to tumble from that. And the funny thing is he told me to do a bunch of things like buy this book, look at this, look up that, do this, do that. I didn't do any of it. I was just barely living at the time with this disorder, right? Um, but it was really just so fascinating to see myself, the progression, because now that I'm this me, it's hard to think back to somebody who, to me, long ago, being scared of all that stuff and just, oh my gosh, is that dark forces or something, Um, but somehow it all came together. It's really neat.
Oh, that's so exciting when you find things from, back when you were a different version of you, and you can look back and
Yeah.
actually see, I've come a long way. Look at my personal growth. I've expanded. I've, evolved. It's really exciting because then you can, because in the moment you don't notice any personal growth. You don't notice anything.
No.
And even like over a few years, unless you like actually sit and think about things and ponder about things and be like, well, I used to believe this. Where do I stand on this belief system now? Like, it's not really something that comes up unless you have to go there, you know?
Yeah.
So that's super exciting, almost like a full circle moment. So, what were some of the fears you had back then that you don't have now?
Yeah, so I had no idea who Pleiadians were, no idea who Arcturians were. He was just saying, there's aliens that are with you. I'm like, okay. Um, and but I know for sure I was scared of Greys, the TV version, the movie version. Now, after doing so many hypnosis sessions, bringing through Greys, I don't I don't fear them. Um, if there are, of course, instances where, they're here to work on DNA or collect, for their race. Um, those are real instances. And I know this can be controversial, what I'm about to say, um, a little controversial. So, what I've come to find out through hypnosis sessions is that, if we are creating our lives before we're even here, right? We're planning these lives. And that doesn't mean that they're not a part of it, that creation, right? We have been them at some point, they have been us at some point, and there are these sort of contracts that we are playing out with one another. So I'm not scared of them. Now, if one was just in the middle of the night looking through my window, I cannot say that I wouldn't be a little frightened. Um, of course, but I think I've worked with them enough now that I feel better about it. Right? I feel a lot better about it. But I was terrified. I remember watching a long time ago, maybe 20 years ago, watching some sort of documentary, not even a documentary, it's just a movie or something about Greys, and I couldn't sleep for like 2 weeks. I was terrified to be in the house alone, but of course Hollywood makes it that way, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I totally get that. I and I can understand, where you're coming from because like the way Grace specifically portrayed, it's only bad stuff. right? They're
Yeah.
gonna come and they're gonna abduct you and they're gonna probe you and they're gonna do
Yeah.
all these things to you, and then you're
Yeah.
just gonna be a zombie, traumatized for the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
maybe that was some people's experiences. I'm not, saying it wasn't, and I'm not
Yeah.
discounting anyone's experiences if that was your
Yeah.
experience. But the point is, like you said just now, we have contracts that we've forgotten about a long time ago. There are certain things that we came to do, and there are certain beings that play a role in certain contracts, and certain things have to happen in a certain way. Like everything happens with permission, whether you remember you've given the permission or not.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've given permission for things that are maybe not very comfortable for you as your human self, but it's
Yeah.
necessary for your spiritual growth as a soul, or as, whatever else is going on. So, and also, if you think of like the time frame, right? You think, okay, living 90 years as a human, it's a super long time. It's not. We are eternally going to exist. Like we've been existing for eternity. We will for eternity. So when you look back after you die, having one or two little experiences with a gray that was uncomfortable, is that really going to affect your entire soul journey in terms of eternity? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we put so much of emphasis and we make such a big deal over things. And I understand it. It's not everyday common things happening to us as humans, so we think if it's weird, if it's different, it must be dangerous, it must be creepy, I gotta stay away from it. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, it's part of the adventure of being a human, isn't it? To kind of figure these things out and be like, wow, I actually had a contact with so and so. And this type of being has been with me all my life, or, so going through a hypnosis section like you did, and someone
Yeah.
telling you there are aliens with you all the time. And you're like, what? The same thing happened to me. I didn't have any positive experiences or negative ones with any beings. Like it was not
Mhm.
my thing. I wasn't into that thing. I didn't even, I would be oblivious to it if it was even happening. And then I was working on the beings book a couple years ago, and I had a some sort of spiritual attack by beings that were kind of like bad guys, right? Not all of them are bad, but it was like reptilian type beings.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I had to learn about these things and understand like everything is not sunshine and rainbows, but it's not that big of a deal anyway. Once you understand what's going on and you can work with your guides and beings that are helping and supporting you, and if you can do what you need to do, then nothing really can affect you negatively because you are not allowing it to. It's like you have to give that consent for that to affect you. So there's so many different layers to it. And just blindly accepting something or blindly rejecting something is kind of lazy, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, well, I'm the curious kind, I suppose. So I look into these things. I can imagine though, not knowing anything and then having an experience, just being totally uh, beside myself and terrified and um just not wanting to even look at it, or look into it or find out more, right? To make myself feel better or figure out what the heck it was. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many kinds of experiences.
Yeah.
It's endless, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many different kinds of beings too. And they all have a
Hmm.
different agenda and have a different type of energy and a different kind of purpose. And it's like, it's so vast. There's so much to it. You cannot
Yeah.
just pinpoint it to being this or that. And that's why I enjoyed our conversation so much when we got together as a group, because there's so many different perspectives on this topic. And we had so many good, deep discussions on it that was so like uh polarizing sometimes, because
Yeah.
everyone's opinions were so different. But it was so exciting to come together and do that, because now a lot of you guys have formed little groups with each other and collaborated with each other and done things, that I thought, okay, these two for sure are not gonna get along. But things happen and you're like, oh my goodness, they collaborated
Yeah.
on something. That's pretty cool. That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. And it's like, yeah, that's what we have to do, because even just humans, we are so diverse, right?
Yeah.
Imagine the diversity of like every being that exists. It's
Hmm.
insane to even think about this. It's so much, it's too much to even think about. So we need to come to a point where we can accept each other, have conversations with each other, and do these things lovingly, so that we can be part of something bigger and not freak out or judge, like, oh, you look
Yeah.
different, I'm going to judge you, you have blue skin, you must be, I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
I know it's funny. I was hopefully I can explain this properly. If not, just take it out. But I was thinking about, you know, animals on this planet. We don't think of them as weird or oh my God, scary or I mean, some of them look kind of weird, but we're not terrified of them usually. Um, and then I think, okay, well, what about like animals on another planet, right? Would we be scared of those? Probably not, especially if they're fluffy and round or something. But, so what makes a human scared of another animal that looks like them, right? The but might be blue, like you said. Is it that they can think like us or talk like us or what are we scared of? Being controlled? What is that core fear, right?
Mm.
So uh, I think when people stop to think, and I think I wrote about this in the chapter, but when they stop to think about, well, what am I actually scared of? Um, it does usually come down, I think, to fear of being lesser than or controlled or right. Something that can traverse the galaxy uh, must have more power than me, So what can they do to me? That kind of stuff. So I think it really comes down to that core fear. But I really, I really believe that if they were gonna do something, they would have already done it, you know?
100%, because
Yeah.
if you look at like the evolution of
Mm.
higher beings, they are so much more evolved, whether it be in terms of technology or even just spiritual evolution or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
If there was some kind of weird agenda, like let's kill and eat all the humans, it would have happened by now, I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it definitely would have happened by now. Why would they not do that if that's what they wanted to do? It's like a cat playing with the mouse before they eat it. I don't
Yeah.
see why they would do that, especially since they are so highly evolved. And I once heard a channel, I'm not sure um who the channel was, but they were channeling a ET being, and the being said that we think the definition of power is having control over another being, when the actual definition of power, the way they see it, is knowing that you can have control over another being, almost like you can destroy them if you want to, but choosing not
Mhm.
to, like choosing to be unconditionally loving and accepting of them, and
Yeah.
not using the fact that I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm more evolved as a power play or some kind
Yeah.
of like, you know, you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
it's I understand that, and I was like, yeah, that makes total sense. We thinking of it in this way because we are humans, and this is what we would do if we came
Yeah.
across, another civilization who seemed weaker. We would probably steal all their resources and do like leave them to die. If you
Yeah.
think of our history as humans and how we would just go somewhere, colonize, huge populations, and then just rape and kill and
Yeah.
have, call it a day and then say, I am superior. Now we think others think that way too. And they
Yeah.
don't. They look at us and they're like, what on earth are you doing?
You're right.
Who does that? Why would you do that? This is your own kind. It's your own literally your own kind.
Yeah.
So I mean, humans are so weird, and I think we are weirder than they are. Honestly, they may look different, but they,
Yeah.
they don't have that. um it's almost like an insecurity. We act out of insecurity. We
Mm.
act out of fear. Everything is a fear-based thing. And I once had to have a conversation with myself like, okay, what is the biggest thing that I'm afraid of? It would probably be death, right? I'm afraid
Yeah.
I'm going to die.
Yeah.
You're going to kill me, or this being is going to suck out my soul. I don't know, but it's going to
Yeah.
involve
Yeah.
death, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when I started understanding that death is not the end, it's like, oh, that doesn't become scary anymore.
Mm.
Like
Hmm.
I'm not actually going to die. I'm just going to leave my physical body, but I can do whatever I want then. I'm going to
Yeah.
go and have my life review and do all that stuff. But after that, I'm, free as a bird. I'm free as a soul. I can do whatever I want. And
Yeah.
so it takes away that edge of, oh, I got to be afraid of this thing because you're not afraid of death anymore, which was actually the underlying thing
Mm.
of all the fear that I had,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
And they know that. They don't have to learn that. They know, and they don't have that separation thing that we have. Maybe they don't even have the forgetfulness thing that we have. I don't know to what
Yeah.
extent they are, having the experience that's different to ours. But there's a lot of things that we experience in terms of limitation that they don't. So
Hmm.
they don't act like from a place of fear and desperation like we would.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. And I think, I wrote about this I mean, I don't know, but I don't think that um disclosure will be something different, but I don't think that aliens are going to, show up to the White House, you know, and be presented to the world. I really think that contact will be, I mean, it's already happening. I think I think it will be very individual or group. I think about Dr. Stephen Greer's his C5 groups, right? Where he goes to, these dark spaces and everyone meditates and they bring through things. I think it will be at the grassroots level, really, um, more and more, you know. I really don't think it'll be like they'll come out on stage or something and say we're here. I don't know, but I don't
Yeah,
think.
I agree with you. I think they know better than to do that
Mhm.
because they watch us and they watch our behavior. If they had
Yeah.
to show up at the White House, they know they would be gunned down in 5 seconds. Like
Yeah.
that's a no-brainer. So don't go there
Yeah.
because, and then they would just cover it up and say, oh, there was a group of birds that looked nefarious and we needed to get rid of them or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think, approaching or the humans that are already seeking contact is definitely
Mm.
the way to go. I would do that if I was an ET. I would say, you know what, there's already so many humans who are looking for us and wanting contact. Let's see who is the most vibrationally ready, because you
Yeah.
also don't want to freak them out. You don't just want, because I can say, oh, I'm ready. Come, come to me, come knock on my
What
door.
are
Let's
we?
have some cake and tea. They're going to
Yeah.
show up. and I'm gonna freak out. So they also need to gauge the
Yeah.
readiness physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because
Yeah.
their frequency is so different. They don't want to like probably, I don't know, like mess with my internal system. Who knows what
Yeah.
could happen if I get into a frequency that I'm not compatible with? Not that it's a bad thing, it's just I'm not compatible with it. Anything can happen,
Yeah.
So they would probably look for people who are more compatible and then start there. And then, which is exactly what happens. And then
Yeah.
you start channeling, you start having you can see or whatever, So that's what's happening. I don't know how they would go from doing that to being visible to everyone, kind of like, on a normal basis, like where everyone is like, oh yeah, I know about
Yeah.
ETs. Yeah, I've seen one or whatever. I don't know what that would look like, but it would be interesting to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. Um, yeah, and I think that's why it would be, more and more at the roots level, what like you said, with humans that can handle it for the most part. Um, I think, what comes to me is I think it would only take a few instances of seeing, right, to be normalized. If I was to see an alien walking up, I'd be scared at first, I'm sure, right? Um, but as soon as that interaction happened, it would be no different than a Tuesday. Like it would I think it would be okay pretty quick. Um, I did hear an interview a while back uh saying how many uh what would be the word, species or races um of alien that are out there in all forms. And you're right, when you say like what can our body handle, because this gentleman, I can't remember his name, but he's apparently been working with grays in underground places, and has come out now. So he said that there are upwards of, I think it was like 15,000 or something, upwards of that many races. And there's levels of what the brain can handle when they look at them, right? So we think about, blue aliens that look somewhat human, that's the the one. And we think, okay, I think my brain could handle that, you know? I'm not so sure if my brain could handle something that is like, I don't know, 5 heads or something, like, I got tentacles
Yeah.
or I don't know what, you know. So I think that like you said, they know that. They're not stupid. They've probably been watching us for a long time.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, and I do think they'll know who to send first.
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely study us and they definitely know us better than we know ourselves, because we are so biased and we cannot look at ourselves objectively and be like, oh, I suck in these aspects and I need to work on this. That's one thing humans are not very good at. So I think, they are better for that. My prediction is they would probably send definitely humanoids first, so some, more
Yeah.
human looking, more some type of humanoid beings that can integrate well, or that can even like blend in, where if you take a first look you're not really sure if they are ET or not, you know, so very
Mhm.
similar looking and maybe even hybrid. So,
Yeah.
you know, a mixture of human DNA with ET DNA, perhaps, and then looking more humanoid. So I'm thinking that would probably be easiest for us to handle. And then they'll say, and this is just my my silly
Uh,
prediction. They'll
yeah.
probably just, you know, and by the way, I've got friends, meet my friends, you know, tentacle,
Yeah.
10 arm, 5 head being over here. So, you know, and then I
Yeah,
don't
this
think it
is
will go,
George.
yeah, it won't go 0 to 1,000 that quick, but over time, you
Yeah.
know, the
Yeah.
one will introduce you to the next, to the next, to the next, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe it's not even relevant for us to know all, or even the weirder ones as humans. Who
Yeah,
knows?
I don't think it will. I don't think it. I think the ones that are meant to come here, will, and yeah, I'm not so sure, like you said, I'm not so sure it is relevant for us to know everything and anything that exists, right? We do
Yeah,
at the soul level, and we will know at that point, but um yeah, I think it's just I think they're peaceful, and I think that they don't want to cause, a mass disturbance.
for sure, for sure. I don't think they would do that. And also, I think once it becomes normal, like, oh, guys, guess what? This, you know, ET's walking among us and everything's cool. They're not, you know, hurting people, whatever. I think the next step would probably be like wanting, like humans wanting to know more about like ancient ETs, like the ones mentioned in
Yeah.
ancient, you know, our Bibles and our religious
Uh,
books. And like, how did that come about? And, you know, can you tell us more about things that we are missing in our human um history kind of timeline? Like, there's
yeah,
certain pieces that are missing. Can you fill in the gaps for us? What do you know that we don't? You know, and we would kind of use them and their knowledge to learn more about ourselves. That is my hope, you know,
yeah.
so that we could evolve in that way. Because all of the focus shouldn't be on them. We are still on a human journey and doing our human thing.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean because, you know, if there's going to be open contact or disclosure or whatever, that all the focus is going to move to them. We're still doing our own thing, but we could use their knowledge and their guidance to improve ourselves, learn about ourselves, you know, do things like that.
Absolutely. I think that wouldn't it be fun, eh?
Yeah.
If they just gave us so much information about, if they were here during Egyptian times, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they've been here for long, long time. Whether or not they made contact with certain civilizations is another story, but yeah, I think uh fill in the blanks, right?
Yeah.
It would
Definitely
be a
fill in
fill
the
in the
blanks.
blanks.
Or give
Mhm.
us at least some more information that we can be guided towards because there's
Yeah.
so many different opinions and there's so many arguments around certain things. I don't know if you've ever watched like there's this guy who goes around to ancient ruins and things and he looks at them and he dates them and he makes predictions about, you know, there had to be humans building this X amount of years ago. And then there'll be
Yeah.
like these hotshot big shot kind of archaeologists being like, no, that cannot happen, how dare you say this, blah blah.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's so much of that going on. I think they will be able to clear a lot of that up as well, especially if they
Yeah.
know of, or maybe even if they were the ETs involved in certain things, you know, because they had to, there's so many cultures on earth that talk about them,
I know.
so
Like,
there
how could
has
we
to
not? It's like
be,
dragons, right?
yeah, there
Eh,
has to be a common thing where they all know, yeah, we were here, we did this, and then we had to leave for these reasons. And then you guys went rogue, and now we're back, you know?
exactly.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Oh
there
my
has to be.
gosh. Yeah, I love those that show. I think what's it called? Ancient? No, Ancient Apocalypse. I don't know. I can't remember, but it's hit. I think his last name is Hitchcock. Hitchcock
Oh,
or
yes.
something.
Is it Graham?
Graham
Graham?
Hitchcock.
Something like that.
Graham.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Something like
I
that.
love them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
I love I love watching all his stuff. And then even Braden, is it who's
Oh
it?
yes, Greg Braden.
Yes. Him as well.
Yes,
Very interesting.
I would love to go to one of his groups, you know. He holds little, I don't want to say conference, but because it's much smaller. But workshops around the world.
Hmm.
I would love to go one of those. Yeah.
So exciting.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, they are doing amazing work, and then you get these like archaeologists with, whatever their qualifications are, just shutting them
mhm.
down because they don't want to change their belief system. And I feel like that is so dangerous, actually, when you're not willing to change your opinion based on new information found. Like, that is literally the definition of learning.
I know.
If I believe something and you come along and say, hey, I got a new piece of information for you, I should at least be open to listening to it and be willing to change my opinion based on that, or
Yeah.
keep my opinion based on that. But just to blindly say, I don't believe you doing this or saying this or whatever,
Yeah.
for my own personal self-preservation, I don't want to look like a fool,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
They attach their egos to it.
Yeah.
My husband has this great saying. I'm gonna botch it. But it's something of it's something like science only moves forward when old scientists die,
Yes. Oh yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh yeah.
then the ego's not attached, and you know.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's sad. It's
It
sad
is.
that they're not willing to go, wow, there's new data. Let's have a look at this and see what it is, right? But you're right.
Yeah.
They don't want they spent their whole life you probably
Yeah.
working on one thing. They've nailed it down, they've done papers, they've talked about it, and now they don't want it to change,
And
right?
if you
Which is
and if
so
you
crazy.
actually look at the research they've done and the papers they've published,
Yeah.
it's not even that good. Like, the research is not even that deep. Like, you can get better
Yeah.
research on, I don't know, ChatGPT, like, seriously.
Yeah.
Or you can like go on Reddit and say, ask a question. Within 24 hours, you're gonna have some kind of Reddit team with the deep dive and reports and everything. Like, seriously.
Right.
I'm not even joking when I say that. It's so the things they are arguing for are so outdated that they
Yeah.
should actually be ashamed to hold on to this as much
Yeah.
as they are holding on to it.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be interesting if like every, I don't know how many years, but let's say every 50 years, all the slates of science needed to be cleaned and like it needed to, like start over in a sense for many things. Like, okay, now, okay, let's let that stuff go. Let's look at the new data that's coming in,
Yeah,
right? That's it.
yeah,
I remember looking up a peer reviewed paper, a journal for something that was spiritually related. I can't remember what it was, but what stands out to me was when I got to the paper, it said that this journal has been removed because of peer reviews saying that it was too spiritually like it didn't mesh with the old ideas. And I was just like blown
that's the whole
away that
point.
that could happen, right?
Yeah,
I get the peer review process, but um yeah, it was taken off the table. You couldn't even read it
yeah,
because too many people said this is hogwash kind of thing.
yeah. And
Like
that is so bizarre. Like, when did that
yeah,
become a thing? In ancient times, when did it become a thing where, if this does not meet my expectations or requirements or what I want to know or notice public knowledge, it's going to be scrapped? Like, when
yeah,
did that become a thing? I how did we think that was a good idea? Like, ever?
yeah,
Because even if you do let's say you do a project a group of people doing a project, right? And
Mm-hmm.
everyone is doing their own research about a certain thing. So each one has their area. You go and research this and this and this, and we'll all come together and we'll come up with the information. And if your information overlaps with what I needed to research and there are differences, wouldn't it make sense for us to say, okay, let's look at all the things and see what makes the most sense, or
Yes.
let's test it, or let's combine everything and let like the general public make their own decisions about it or make up their own
Huh.
mind. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like we are surgeons cutting people open. This is literal ruins in the ground. It's like it's
I
not going to
know.
affect anyone if anyone knows that ETs were involved in it. Like, seriously, who is that going to
Right?
hurt? It's
Yeah.
weird. It's weird.
Yeah. It is weird. And yeah. I mean, and there's a whole other path we could go down with, well, what if ETs are out there and what does that mean for religion, right? And I think that's what keeps it tamped
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's a whole other
I think so
story.
too. I think so
Yeah.
too, because because we base everything. And if I just think about it like on a very, very surface level,
Yeah.
not going deep into anything, we believe, let's say I'm a Christian and I
Hmm.
believe in these values or these specific things, and I will not waver from that because this is my belief system and I'm not going to change that for anything and for anyone.
Yeah.
Just believing that an alien exists already means I need to denounce a lot of what I believe in because
Uh,
they don't have, for example, Jesus on
yeah.
whatever planet they come from. They don't have Jesus, which means they are not Christian and I cannot accept.
Yeah.
So like it's just it challenges you on so many levels more than just as ETs exist or not.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's easier for people to just be like, let's put our heads in the sand and pretend like it doesn't exist. So we don't need to look at religion and ancient
Yeah.
ruins and all the like other exciting things. Let's just
Yeah.
live boring lives because we're too afraid to
Yeah.
look at things.
But I think there is, to just push that a little further. Now, I think there is a lot of people that are getting really interested in moving the bar forward.
Yeah,
That's what I see. I mean, maybe it's just my algorithm. That's another thing. But like I'm seeing so many people
yeah,
going, okay, just let it out of the bag, like
yeah,
disclosure. We don't care,
yeah,
We've
yeah,
got all this stuff going on. Aliens, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, we already knew, right?
yeah. Yeah, people are getting bored and tired of being told what they should and shouldn't believe and what they should and
Yeah,
shouldn't do. And it's getting old. It's getting old so quickly. I
yeah,
mean, like you
yeah.
say, science only moves forward when the old scientists die. I'm
Hmm.
willing to say that humanity's evolution only moves forward when the old people die. Like
Hmm.
seriously, because they are the only ones that are so holding on to these ideas that are so stale. It's so
Yeah,
stale. It's so crummy. Like let it go.
yeah, yeah. I know. I feel like we should be way further ahead than we are, right? I
Yeah.
think about I think about the things on Star Trek and that laying down in a machine that scans you and then just tells you what's wrong or fixes you or heals you. I feel
Yeah.
like we should be there by now. Like we are
Yeah.
so but that's not where
Yeah. And we
money's being
have the
put.
technology. We have the technology for clean energy that can power the
Yes,
entire
oh my
world. We
gosh.
have the technology that can heal people through sound healing and things. We have the technology to do that. There are obviously other agendas at play, that want to keep people
Yeah,
sick and
money.
dependent and this and
Money.
that. And
Yeah.
exactly. So imagine a world where money wasn't a thing,
Yeah.
where we didn't rely on money, where I don't know, I don't want to say barter system or whatever, but like,
Yeah.
where the agendas were not so just so tainted with like
Mhm.
I want to do is whatever I can to make the most money and hurt people along the way. I don't care if I do, I don't care if I don't. It's just like greed and all those things, you know. I think that's the problem with humans. We focus on the wrong thing. And
Yeah.
I don't know if they think they're gonna have all that money when they die, but they're not, you
The
know.
unfortunate part, I think I'm making a I'm painting with a wide paintbrush right now, but I think that most people want different.
Yeah.
Most people want different. Um, but it is the 1% that controls it, right? I mean, we're going off on a
Yeah.
tangent here, but you know what
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is. Unfortunately, we live in a society and in a world where 1% makes all the decisions and the rest of us just need to go along with it.
Yeah.
But I think that is changing. And I
Yeah.
think it's not gonna be like that, you know, far
Yeah.
in, like if you look far into the future, it's not gonna be like that anymore. I don't know what the turning point will be. I don't
Yeah.
know how that is going to just happen. I don't know if it's going to be an overnight thing or if the systems are going to crumble one by one. I don't know, but it's happening and it's moving. It's a little bit slow for my liking, but I think it's happening at a pace that we need it because a lot of people need to play catch up. You know, a lot of people are not even having conversations like this. You know, it's this is like way out there, like, oh my goodness, what are they even talking about, kind of thing, you
Oh, I
know.
know. Yeah, I I've had to put my you know, I feel like a lot of people would judge me and you know what we're doing and that people like us.
Yeah,
And I'm sure that they would say, "Oh my gosh, put them in the nut house," kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
uh you just gotta be this time that we live in is probably out of all the human years the best time to live in for
yeah,
this,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because no one is coming after us, at least we you know, with pitchforks. No one's tying us to stakes and burning us. You know, this is the
yeah,
time for this.
yeah,
And I think people are waking up to that.
yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I bet there are some people who wish they could burn
Oh yeah.
us, um you know, like, oh, this is way out there,
Yeah.
how
Of
dare
course.
you, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But I seriously don't care. I'm at a point now where I really don't care. People
Yeah.
who don't resonate with the things that I do and talk about and involve myself in, like, you
Mm.
have no business looking in my direction anyway. You know,
Yeah.
you do you and
Yeah.
be the best you that you can be. That's my only advice for you because I'm doing that. You
Yeah.
know, and if this looks different than it does for you, so be it. We are different individuals. We literally are two separate beings living two separate lives doing things that are different. So there's no need to compare and, you know, say this and that. But anyway, I hope that people get what they need out of the book because, like I
Yeah.
said, so many different perspectives in there, so many interesting things to read, and so many different ways of looking at things and eye-opening things that are like, oh, I should research more into that, or I should go and, you know, learn more about this or that. And I don't
Mhm.
know how that is going to affect people moving forward. I don't know what that's going to be in terms of ripple effects years and years to come. But I do know that these conversations will become more and more open as a result of the book and how it's, you know, coming together and all that. So I'm super excited for it.
Oh, me too. Me
Yeah.
too. So excited. And I think it's going to be one of those books that, you know, people purchase and it's kind of like you could read it and take some stuff from it and then pick it up next year or 2 years from now and read it again and go, oh, wow, yeah, I get that now.
Yeah, that's
Or,
exactly what Joanne
you
said
know,
yesterday. I was speaking
oh,
to
yeah,
Joanne yesterday and she said the exact same thing. that
Mm.
you may not resonate with everything right away, but over time, more and more will become relevant, or
Yeah,
maybe not, but it will all be exactly as it should be. So,
that's right. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
me too.
And that comes out on the 8th?
On the 8th, the ebook will be available on Amazon,
Hmm.
and the paperback and hardcover will follow shortly thereafter. So I'll put all the links and everything in the description. And if you have any links that you want to share, work that you're doing, things that you up to, send them to me and I'll put them in the description as well.
Of this video?
Yeah, this video.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was wonderful speaking to you. I had such a good time.
Yeah, you too. I know I could like talk about this all kinds of stuff, right? Forever, but
Me too. Me
um,
too. I really could.
yeah.
I really could. Well,
Oh.
thank you again. I appreciate you.
Oh, you too, Amira. Thank you for, like bringing us all together in that amazing way that you did. And yeah, I'm just feeling a lot of gratitude for it.
You were so
Yeah.
welcome. And I feel gratitude for you too, because if I didn't listen and do what I needed to do, I don't
Oh,
know, that this would reach the people that it needs to reach. So I do my
yeah.
best by listening to my guidance and following through. And I thank all of you for listening to your guidance, and following through, because I know that it's a big leap to go from like getting a weird email from me saying, "Hey, I'm doing a book about aliens. Do you want to write in it?" to being like, "Yeah, let's do it." you know?
Yeah, and I think I mentioned to you that as soon as I read the email, I heard this little voice say, "You're going to do this. Yeah, you're going to do this." And I thought, okay. So I clicked on the link and I went and I looked and we worked it all out and I thought, okay, I guess I'm doing this. So it's great. It's been
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, and
So
it's a ginormous leap of faith from everyone's direction. So I thank all of you, and I'm
yeah,
super excited to be a part of it. So.
me too. Me too.